I'm here with Julie Ryan. We are back. This is round 2.
I know.
And it's in person.
I know.
I know.
How fun is that?
Let's just make sure. I know. Is that close enough? Can you hear it? Does it sound good? I want to make sure we hear every word you're saying, Julie, because Julie, you are a very special person. We all are special, but your gifts are very special. Okay.
Oh, you sweet thing.
Tell us about your gifts, because I met you on Zoom and I love talking about this kind of stuff because I'm fascinated with the afterlife, with healing. You are a healer. Like, you can scan people's bodies and you can see what's going on inside of them. Like, you scanned my body and you said and I kind of wanted to do a follow-up with you because after our first episode, people were like, does this work? What is happening? This is so cool. And it feels kind of crazy.
Right.
You know, that you can like literally look inside of a body and see what's happening. Because like you had scanned me and said I had a little bit of Lyme. I had a lot of mold. And what else? And then I ended up getting my basement, my crawl space encapsulated because
I told you your
said there
was full of it.
Mold in our house.
Yeah.
Okay, so like.
And I said, your HVAC's down there, right? And you said, I have no idea. I said, well, I can see it. I know it's down there. I can see it. And I was in Birmingham and you were here in Nashville. And because that's called remote viewing.
So tell us how you remote view. What is that exactly?
Yeah, it's being able to see things in other areas, whether it's inside a body or it's in the past or it's present or whatever. I can scan people's houses like I did yours. I said, where's the mold? You got mold, girl. Where's the mold? And you said, I don't know. I don't smell it. I don't think we have it. I said, oh, yeah, you have it because your body was full of it. And so it looks like mold, or it looks like, you know, the moss that you can buy at Michael's and put around an orchid plant to decorate it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what it looks like. And you were pretty moldy.
So how am I now?
I don't know. I don't have you on my radar yet.
So how do you get someone on your radar?
I just raise my vibrational level, and it takes a nanosecond. This is what I teach in my courses, in my classes, which are a blast. You learn how to do the whole buffet of psychicness. You know, I'm a businesswoman who learned how to do woo-woo.
Wait, is that what your next class is about?
Buffet of psychicness. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
And you'll pass
everything.
You'll pass on the...
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about this next class because I do want to take it.
Yeah, it's May 16th and 17th. It's online, it's live, it's via Zoom. It's the whole weekend. You learn how to communicate with spirit. You learn how to do remote viewing. Communicating with spirit, whether a spirit's attached to a body or not, is irrelevant. We just think of whoever we want to talk to and we can communicate with them telepathically. And that's been done for eons.
How do you transfer that? How do you teach people how to do that?
Well, you have to take my class and you'll see. Plus, it's a blast.
But like, will you for sure be able to do all this when it's over?
In the first hour.
Like, will I be able to clear myself?
In the first hour.
Like, can I look in my own self and say, like, oh, there's like...
With some practice, but you'll be able to communicate telepathically in the first hour. You'll be able to do remote viewing in the first hour.
Okay, wait, how much does it cost?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. I know, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a lot of money. So that's the scary part is like, man, this is a big investment.
I have a fun story about that.
Okay, tell us about money because the price can freak people out.
Yeah, the price is $2,500. So for the weekend, but there are free practice groups for life that come with it, and right now we have 9 a week. So the $2,500, this is going to be class 25 in May. So I've done this 25 times with about 500 people from 15 countries around the world.
Or total?
Total.
Okay.
So I had this woman several years ago say to me, can you teach me how to do this stuff? And she lived in Cape Town, South Africa. And I said, I don't know, maybe. I never thought about it. And so my main spirit guide, and we can talk more about him later if you want, is a dead Pope, Pope Clement VI.
Yeah, that's your spirit guide.
He's my main spirit guide. And he's a riot. Cool. He's so much fun. He always shows up with his Pope hat on. And I say, Clement, I know who you are. After all these years, you don't have to wear the hat. He goes, yeah, but it looks good, don't you think? I said, yeah, okay. So I said to him, just like I'm talking with you'll be able to talk to spirit like you and I are talking when you take my class with some practice. And I said, am I supposed to teach class? And he goes, yeah, like, duh. And I said, well, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what I'll teach, blah, 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 blah. And he said, you do this, 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 this. You call it this. You You cover all these different topics, your whole buffet of psychicness, which I've coined. Once you connect with spirit, you can do it all. And he said, you start on this day, which was 10 days from when I'm having this conversation with him, and you charge $2,500.
So he laid it out.
Absolutely.
So you really didn't have to plan the course. He planned it for you.
I downloaded a business plan. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, so...
Because you were in business before.
Yeah, I've founded 9 companies in 5 industries.
Dang.
And I'm an inventor of surgical devices sold throughout the world and former manufacturer of them. So I said to him, so I'm arguing with a dead pope, and I said, Clement, nobody's going to pay $2,500. Do you mean $250? And he said, no, $2,500. And so we went back and forth. He said, just do it. He treats me like a Nike ad. And he said, get it out, start it on this date. So I said, I was giving him all the reasons why it wouldn't work. I don't know if my webmaster can get a page up, blah, 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 blah. This was a Tuesday when I was talking to him. Thursday, 2 days later, I announced my class on my Ask Julie Ryan show. I didn't have anything written. I didn't have anything, the page on the website, nothing. No marketing, none of it was done, but I announced it. And then that was Thursday. We got the website page up on Sunday. By Tuesday, in 48 hours, in a week, I had multiple people from 4 countries sign up and pay $2,500. And I said, okay, all right, I'm in. And that's how it all came about. What I came to understand much later is this is postdoctoral PhD stuff, like way beyond. People say, well, I took Reiki training or I did this training. Great. That's entry level. That's like preschool, primary grades, which is a great place to start. This is postdoctoral level. You can do everything that I do within a weekend. It's a transfer of energy from me to my students. It's 10% technique. We're going to find out what works best for you. I'm a visual learner. You may be a kinesthetic learner, an auditory learner. Spirit's going to communicate to you in a way that's going to be easy for you to understand. And so we're going to figure that out. But it's a blast.
How long is it each day?
It's most of the day. It's like 14 hours over a weekend with breaks. We take
Zoom?
lunch and
So like
it's on Zoom.
Does it start like 8 to?
Like 9 Central to 6.
2 days.
On Saturday, and I think it's 9 to 5 on Sunday. But we take a break every hour and a half. We take an hour and a half lunch.
And it's May
16th through the 17th, 16th and 17th.
16th and 17th.
2026. And then I'll teach an in-person class in Atlanta in the fall. But a lot of people that are abroad or it's just too hard for them to get away for a long weekend, they like the online. And it doesn't matter. It's all the same stuff. It's just less expensive online. So I don't understand why in the woo-woo, and woo means source in Taoism. I love the word woo-woo. I think it's fun. I think it makes people laugh. It's a high vibe. And people say, well, you're giving people the wrong impression. I said, what's the wrong impression? Woo means source in Taoism. And who knows in what other languages. And so I don't understand why once we connect with spirit, it's been my experience for more than 30 years now, that we can do it all. You got the psychics and the mediums and the pet psychics and the past life people and the near-death people. It's like once you connect with spirit, you can do it all.
Yeah.
And so that's what I teach. So it's the equivalent of taking a whole bunch of different trainings. Nobody else offers free practice sessions for life. And that's when your skills really ramp up. And it's a blast.
Oh, I want to do this. Okay. So can you see people as they cross over? Like, can you help people cross over? Because that's terrifying. People are very afraid of dying. And that's like one of your biggest missions is you want to let people know that you do not have to be afraid of dying. And that's why you wrote this book, Angelic Attendants. And I love this book because it started with your mom, right?
Started with my mom. My mom died in 2002. And I'd never been around somebody who was dying before. And so she lived in Columbus, Ohio. I live in Birmingham. We drove through the night to get to her. She was in a hospice facility. And I thought, just for kicks, I'm going to turn my radar on and see there's something going on energetically in the room. And sure enough, holy Moses, she gave me the gift that is now giving to the world. And so everybody's surrounded by angels. Everybody is surrounded by the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as they're transitioning. And university-based research validates that and says that 90% of people at the end of their lives see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets and angels, and sometimes religious figures, depending on their frame of reference. So I love it when science catches up with woo-woo, because woo-woo's been around a whole lot longer. And back to Pope Clement, a couple of years after my mother had died, I had helped several other families and was seeing the same thing happening. And at my mother's funeral, Roman Catholic funeral, there's a prayer said at the end of every Catholic funeral called In Paradisum, which translated into English means into paradise. And it talks about how the angels and your loved ones will greet you and lead you into paradise. And I thought, that is what I saw happen with my mother. And when I was writing Angelic Attendants, what happens as we transition from this life into the next, I just did a little research. I thought, where did that prayer originate?
And what is that prayer?
It's called In Paradisum, said at the end of every Catholic funeral.
Okay.
Every one of them.
And what is it?
It's either sung into paradise.
It's just into paradise.
It's talking about the angels and your loved ones will lead you into paradise.
Okay.
They're going to greet you and lead you into paradise. So that's what I saw happen when my mother was dying. And I thought, where did that prayer begin? And what I learned was it began as a 5th century Gregorian chant. And I have to believe that perhaps it took till the 5th century till somebody was well educated enough that they could read and write. And back then it was men living in monasteries and synagogues who were the scribes. And I thought, I'll bet people have been able to see these 12 phases of transition since the beginning of time. And we've just dumbed ourselves down.
Lost the connection.
As we've become more proof-based in the last few years. So back to Pope Clement. Fun story. I'm with my mentor, who's here in Nashville, actually. She's in her mid-80s now. She doesn't really teach much anymore. But I was with her, and she was doing a healing on me. So I'm laying on this massage table, face up, got my blankie on, and all my deceased loved ones' spirits line the table.
Do you see them?
Oh, yeah. She does, too. And my late dog, Katie, is even in there. And her little paws, she's on her hind legs, and her paws are on the table. And one day, Susan was doing a healing on me, and this dead Pope walks in. First time I'd seen him. Pope hat on, shepherd's rod, whole nine yards. And I said, well, who are you? And he said, well, I'm Clement. And I said, great. So sorry, I've never heard of Pope Clement. 12 years at Catholic schools, mind you. I never heard of Pope Clement.
Does he fit into the line of history?
He comes in, and hang on, I'm getting there. Okay. And he said, you're supposed to teach the world what happens when somebody dies.
You're supposed to teach the world.
I'm supposed to teach the world.
What happens when someone dies. That's a tall order.
Yeah. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm a businesswoman. People will think I'm nuts. And he said, yeah. He said, people are so afraid.
Details.
This has been so bastardized, and people are so afraid. And it's glorious, and you know it, and you've seen it, and you know what the real scoop is. So you just need to get on with it and teach the world. Again, I said, I'm really not interested because I'm afraid it's going to affect my companies. And he said, yeah, just do it. Everything you've done in your life has prepared you for this. And I said, thanks so much for stopping by. Yeah.
Moving on.
You got the wrong girl.
Okay.
So I get in the car to go home. And you know what happens? I'm checking out Pope Clement VI on my phone. Come to find out, Pope Clement VI was in office during the Black Plague, when 2/3 of Europe died, and he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I thought, Ryan, you can't make that up. And so he prodded me for a couple more years. And then 2 other events happened.
So why do you think? Because he was connected to the dead, like he knows so much about death that he wants you to speak light into death?
He's the authority on
death,
death and dying during the Black Plague. 2/3 of Europe died.
Did he die from the plague?
No.
What did he die from?
I don't know.
Okay.
It was 14th century. So
can you just have a conversation with him about
Oh,
something?
yeah. Anytime.
Like, can you chit-chat?
Oh, yeah.
So
with any spirit.
If you connect with your guide, you can just chit-chat. And they'll talk back to you.
Connect with any spirit, whether it's attached to a body or not.
This is what I want to do. I need to do this course.
You need to do my class.
I know.
Absolutely. It'll be a blast. And so 2 other things happened to get me to really say, okay, I'm in. The first one was I'm in church. I'm sitting between my husband and my son Sunday morning. Father John Fallon, my favorite priest ever, saying, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could really tell us if our angels and our loved ones greet us?
Like me.
And I'm getting elbowed by my husband and my son. And I'm thinking, really, God, you're giving me this grief from the pulpit? Really? So I said, all right, I'll do it.
You
so
stand up?
No.
Oh.
In my mind.
Okay.
I'm talking to God
Okay.
in my mind. So I wrote Angelic Attendants, put my AskJulieRyan.com website up. And a couple weeks later, I'm in Texas giving a business talk, at a conference with C-suite executives, primarily men, and, just doing my regular business thing. And at the end of the talk, Caroline, this man comes up to me. He's got his iPad open to AskJulieRyan.com. And I'm thinking, oh, here we go. And he said, is this you? Well, my picture is on the cover page. And I said, yes, it is. And I'm thinking, oh, brace yourself. And he said, I'd like to sit with you at lunch because I want to know more. And I smiled and I said, that would be lovely. Yes, let's do that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, great, I'm going to get pummeled for an hour here. And we sat together at lunch. And Carolina, it was a table of 8, all guys, me. Nobody wanted to talk about the conference. Nobody wanted to talk about business. All they wanted to talk about was spirituality stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, I'm in. That was the final thing that convinced me to just jump in with both feet.
So when you are in angelic attendance, you're talking about the 12 phases that every single person goes through when they die. And
Right.
I think that I would love to touch on that because you're saying it happens if you're die instantly in a car crash, if you're murdered, if you it doesn't have to be some time where you have time to wait to die and you can have the full process and the hospice kind of thing where it's a peaceful send off. It can be a tumultuous passing and you're still going to have the 12 phases because I guess there is no time in the other realm.
In the spirit world.
So we feel all the time here, but there is no time in the other realm. So can you tell us what the 12 phases are? Are you able to quickly go through that?
Yeah,
because I feel like that was really fascinating.
Yeah.
And you have pictures, which I
have diagrams. Yeah.
I love I love these diagrams. So basically, what phase is that? That's 7. Let me get to the 12th phase. I don't know if you can see this, but I'll show this in a picture, but this is the 12 phases. And these are your angels. This is your father and your mother, your pets, and all your friends and your spouse. And then I think it's so cool how when you say you're going through the tunnel, passing to when you have a near-death experience, it's because your soul is leaving your feet, going up through your body, coming out through your head, and it enters out through a little bubble.
Right.
Okay, so tell us, because you're the one who's going to.
So you're right. Everybody dies, whether they die instantly in a case of a homicide or suicide, or whether they die over a prolonged period of time, days, weeks, months, even years. Everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition.
I heard I've heard this through different spiritual practices, and this could be totally wrong, and I'd love you to debunk this right now. If you commit suicide, you get stuck in another zone.
Nonsense. Everybody goes to heaven. Okay. There was a movie in the 1980s, All Dogs Go to Heaven, All People Go to Heaven Too.
I believe that because all souls are pure.
All souls are pure love.
It's just the human debris that we get caught up in, but that's not who the soul is.
Well, we need to have the contrast.
Right.
Because that's how we create. If everything was just amazing all the time, we wouldn't have any incentive to create anything new. And that's why we're all here, is to create. So
we've really created quite a bit, though, because you get lost in the fact that we're here just to create, because we've really created some crazy stuff on this life.
But everything that happens, there's something good that comes out of it. Okay. If we look at it long term. Okay. Really. Yeah. Always. You think of a forest fire. And you think of the Palisades fire in L.A. God forbid, my son and daughter-in-law lived there. They evacuated for 3 days and couldn't go back to their home. But what's happening? People are getting to do new things. They're getting to build the house of their dreams. There's so much good that's coming out of a horrific situation.
What happens if you're one of the ones in the horrific situation who gets the horrific outcome? So, say you are one of the ones in the Palisades fire, but you die. Yeah. So what if you're that soul who like you don't get the rebuilding and the what is that? Is that just your destiny? Like why do you get the bad card?
What's the biggest way to rebuild? You go to heaven and you come back in a new design.
So you come back again. So reincarnation is for real.
Oh yeah.
And that okay, so talk about that. Sorry, I'm all over the place with you because there's so many things I want to talk about. But you grew up Catholic. You are very devout in your spirituality.
Still go to Catholic church. Yeah.
So
say the rosary every morning.
So reincarnation, though, doesn't necessarily align with Christian beliefs.
It's in the Bible
multiple
times.
So why is that such a thing where people are like, no, reincarnation sacrilegious?
Because religions and cultures throughout the millennia, and this is why Pope Clement came to me, he said, it's been so bastardized over the millennia, and people are so afraid. What's the best way to control people? With fear. We saw that during the pandemic. People did stupid stuff. How many people did we see driving the car by themselves with their mask on?
I know.
And I remember seeing people do that and thinking, honey,
you're alone.
You're alone. Nobody's going to infect you.
If anything, you're just going to get it in your mouth faster.
Anything,
back at yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people do stupid things when they're in fear because they're in fight or flight. And when we're in fight or flight, the blood drains from our brain, goes to our extremities and our heart so we can run away from the fear, and we lose clarity. Like, when did it ever make sense to wear a mask in a car by yourself, driving around?
Right.
I think that's a great example.
So what happened where we became fearful of like...
I think through the millennia, religions and cultures and all of that. Look at the Inquisition. Look at all the wars. Look at all that. Most of them were fought over religious things, and they were controlling people with fear. They still do.
So what does Pope Clement say?
Pope Clement says it's all nonsense.
What does he say about reincarnation? Or what have you learned about reincarnation?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many times when I've done past life scans with people. I do it differently than everybody else, of course, because I'm an entrepreneur and I can talk about that. And so there's all this information that we can get from people's past lives, and we can validate it with historic documentation online. And again, I always say you can't make this stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're saying and also, is there like a karma thing involved? So like, I've heard this from other people who are like comedians and things that like, if you have say you are kind of a bad person in this one lifetime, say you kind of got a rough start and then you gave in to like all the darkness and like, maybe let's just say you're like a murderer or like you're like a drug dealer or you're like really doing some like bad stuff or not living your highest self. Do you have to pay that karma in your next life?
No. Karma has been bastardized as well. My understanding of karma, and I've heard this a bazillion times from spirit, is there's no right or wrong, no good or bad in the spirit world. Big pill to swallow for those of us raised in a Judeo-Christian environment.
I totally believe that. I believe because all of our souls are pure and we get lost in the human realm.
Right. So we need the contrast, as we talked about a minute ago, to be able to create.
And clear your karmic debt.
You don't have a karmic debt. What we do is we come here to explore and experience the human existence. When we die, we go back to heaven. I call non-physical heaven. Mm-hmm. Good Catholic girl, heaven. And we think, okay, I was a murderer in that life. I want to be murdered in my next life so I can explore and experience it from the other side. And remember, time doesn't exist in the spirit world. So time is a human creation. It may be a nanosecond would be the equivalent of 100 years from our perspective. So it's really fast. Furthermore, there are lots of people that believe that we live multiple lifetimes concurrently.
I try to wrap my brain around that and I can't do it.
It's hard for me too.
I can't understand it. And, like, you can switch in between them. But then, like, do you, like, lose your child in one life because, like, you're now in another life? Like, I'm like, oh, it's too much for my brain.
It's too much. So
I can't understand that.
I'm the same way. So I think I've heard, yes, that's true.
Like, there's all these different lives happening at one time.
Right.
So, really, there is no reincarnation. You're kind of just incarnated all of them at the same time.
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll find out when we're in heaven. That's where I go. Is it feasible? Yes. Do I understand it? No. Will I understand it when I go back to heaven? Yes.
Do we ever stop reincarnating? Is there ever an end point?
I heard a yes when you just asked that question.
Okay. Then what happens? You go to a new realm?
When we're done exploring in the human realm.
Because the human realm is one of the hardest realms to explore, right?
That's what they say.
That's what they say, because
my analogy for past lives is this. If you think about Hamlet, how many times has Hamlet been performed since Shakespeare wrote it in 1602? Who knows?
endless.
But you think about, when was it performed? What was the year? Where? What was the language? What was happening in the world? Who was the director? Who were the actors? Who was the costumer? All those different experiences of the same script. Was it inside? Was it outside? I mean, it's endless. So that's why we reincarnate, because we think, oh, well, that was interesting. Wonder what it would be like to be murdered instead of, I know what it's like to be the murderer. And there's no right or wrong in the spirit world. It's just an experience.
So it's all just to gain experiences and have your soul expand.
And
even
then
the negativity.
All those experiences, well, negativity isn't a thing in the spirit world.
It's not real.
But it gives us contrast.
Right. So you actually know what love is.
Yeah.
So you know what anything is.
Right.
Because if otherwise we're just floating around. Is that why God ultimately created all this stuff for us to, like the playground of all this, where our soul can go spend time? Because otherwise we'd just be endless love.
Like,
is that boring, ultimately?
Plasma. Exactly. and you bring up a really good point, and I've heard this a whole lot from Spirit over the years, Caroline, and it's, heaven's not really boring, but they want to create. Things aren't created in heaven.
Because you're just at ultimate peace and love.
Yeah.
So do you go there? You go there to recharge from all your spiritual soul experiences?
You go there to recreate. Well, you go there and you go, oh, well, that was interesting. If you watch some of the most famous actors that we know, they, without a doubt, most of them will tell you, my favorite role was the bad guy. Because it was so nuanced. There was so much material to work with.
And depth to get into.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like you got a free pass to go all in because you're not really the bad guy.
Exactly. And the other thing, too, I think, is when we reincarnate, which we all do, and that's been talked about since the beginning of time in all cultures, we get to try something else. And it's interesting to me how we choose where we're born, when we're born, to whom we're born, and the circumstances into which we're born. So our lives can have a trajectory that will allow us to explore and experience whatever it is we want to explore and experience. My favorite example of that is Marvin Hamlish, the composer. He's an EGOT and a Pulitzer winner for Chorus Line. And he was born to a family where his father played the piano. And he, at the age of 5, when Marvin was 5, he got him into Juilliard because he knew his son was a prodigy. Well, do you think that was a coincidence that Marvin incarnated into that family? Not a chance. Yeah.
Okay, so someone like you, who you are very spiritually advanced for this human lifetime, are you going to, if you reincarnate, will you come back? Do you lose what you've gained from the past life?
No,
so you'll come back even more enlightened. So then that's
maybe.
You won't lose enlightenment, would you?
No, you don't lose it. But what happens is your spirit expands. I use the word spirit. Spirit and soul mean the same thing to me. Soul sounds religious to me, so I use spirit. Your spirit expands, and every experience that every person goes through, every second of every day, goes into the collective consciousness because it's a one-time event. It's the only time that person at that moment in time will experience that, whatever it is, whether you're brushing your teeth or you're doing whatever. And then we have the ability to pull from the collective consciousness.
So you bring a great point, the collective consciousness, because that's another thing that I feel like is hard for me to grasp, but I feel like I grasp it.
Yeah.
But this might be hard for other people to grasp, is we are all the ocean. Like everyone here on this earth, even people who you hate the most, you are them, they are us, because we all are actually just spirit.
Right.
And we're all having these individual experiences, and we're thinking, like, you're thinking you're Julie, I'm Caroline, that's Gabby. Like, we're like having our own life, but really we're just a little piece of the spirit.
We're
and when we go back into the full spirit up in heaven, we're all back in the same one big blob.
we're a drop of water in the ocean. We're all a fractal of the divine.
But we're all actually the same thing, right? Aren't we all just
We're all one.
But we have these individual experiences.
Yeah.
And your soul breaks off and you get in this human body. But then when you go back into the conglomerate.
Well, I don't know that your soul breaks off. I think your soul has the human experience.
But you have to like separate enough to get into a body.
Yeah, but there are schools of thought that part of our soul always stays in heaven, in the non-physical.
So we're really not individuals, ultimately.
We're all one, and we're playing a role as an individual to create and to expand and to
the whole consciousness in general.
Things. Yeah.
And is it just the whole God consciousness?
Yeah.
So ultimately,
Creative.
God is just wanting to expand his consciousness with all of this, with galaxies, with whatever, if there's aliens, all the different ways you can go and have an experience. God's just like been around for so long that now there's so much created.
Well, and there's so much that we don't know.
Right.
You know, in Kabbalah healing, Kabbalistic healing, God is referred to as Ein Sof, which is the unknowable. So we're trying to encapsulate into our human frame of reference something that there's no way we can. So we know, maybe a drop of what I think the whole 9 yards is. And so we're here to have the human experience. And we're not supposed to get lost in the weeds with a lot of this stuff.
But we all kind of do.
Well, we do because we want to have proof.
Well, and everybody's saying something different.
Things.
And then, like you said, with like religion, people will put all these laws down and all this fear. And so then you get lost in that because you think, oh, they're the authority.
Yeah.
And then you kind of live in this fear state. Getting above the fear of laws and systems and establishment is a hard thing to do.
Well, that's why I call myself a cafeteria Catholic. Because I pick and choose what resonates with me. And just because I've been a Catholic for 60 plus years, I'm in my late 60s now, is I think, okay, well, it used to be a sin and people were going to go to hell if they ate meat on Friday. So in my lifetime, as a small child, you better not eat meat on Friday or it was going to be bad news for you. And then as I got into my 20s and 30s, well, they rescinded that. And it was only don't eat meat on Friday during Lent. Now I don't even know if they still have that. But I want to say, well, what happened to all those people through all those centuries that ate meat on Friday? Are they burning in hell? Was that really a sin? I mean, it's nonsense.
So what is hell?
Hell is, and I'm not a Bible scholar, but hell is, I believe, separation from God when we're having the human experience. From what I've read, hell came from Hades. And back in Jesus' time, they'd say, well, you're going to be banished to Hades. Hades was a leper camp in the middle of the desert. It was hot. It was awful. It was, you don't want to go there. And then through all the translations and all the, manipulations and stuff, it came into
so you don't
this.
actually go, when they say there's spiritual warfare, though, is there a devil fighting for our soul? No. Who is the spiritual warfare then? Where is that dark forces coming from? Because I can feel dark forces sometimes.
Dark forces are low vibrational energies that you're perceiving as the devil or evil spirits or whatever based on your human frame of reference of being taught that as a child, perhaps in Sunday school, of being taught that in the Bible, of being taught that in other holy texts, of being taught that in the movies, the books, the literature, all of that stuff. Having slaves in the Bible was great.
Why?
When the Bible was written. Well, they all had slaves.
And it wasn't
And
considered...
it was okay. You got to put it in perspective that it's parables for that time when it was written. And we can extract things that make sense to us in this time. For heaven's sakes, Bible scholars been trying to interpret the Bible for thousands and thousands of years, and they're still doing it. Having the adultery thing, that only pertained to women. That didn't pertain to men. Men had many wives. The wives were valued less than the cattle and the sheep. So you got to put it in perspective.
You're saying karma isn't really a thing, but like...
Right. Karma is an experience.
But so you can't... Then tell me about this, though, because I can feel when I have energetically not been my highest and best self, and especially when I was younger and I wasn't like acting in a way that was maybe totally just wasn't like thoughtful of everyone around me, or I wasn't thinking of everyone's best interests in my teens and 20s and even 30s, you know, like, and as a human, you're always going to mess up. But what happens when you do something that you know is not the right thing and it's affecting someone else in a negative way? I mean, there has to be some sort of cleansing. Like, you have to like repair that on some way. Do you just like let it go and like don't go back and like close that live wire? Like, because I feel like then there's just all these live wires out there of doing all this stuff, and is there no accountability?
Well, there's accountability from our human perspective, and you're a great example. You knew that that wasn't right, and so what did you do? You changed your behavior. Maybe you made amends to that person.
But what do you do about
but you
the
don't do
energetic
it
mess
now.
that you made?
Well, you negate it once you understand that feels bad. That wasn't where I need to be, and I'm going to do better next time.
So, but do you kind of need to go clean up that energetic mess for it to leave your aura?
You do as soon as you realize that that's not where you want to be.
'Cause
You
we were
raise
talking-
your vibrational level.
And it gets you out of that. And you, because I was talking about curses, and you say there aren't curses, but that's kind of what I'm saying. That's sort of what I'm meaning as a curse. It's like, I don't feel like that's a curse, but I feel like you have that energy on you until you go back and clean up your energy field. Like, you're forever, say I really did somebody wrong in my 20s, like a business partner, or say I like screwed him over, which I didn't, but say I did. And then maybe I did something like that, but like I don't have recollection of it. But say I didn't clean that energy up, and they had this really negative feeling about me that they've been harboring for a long time. Even if they've moved on, when they think of me, it's still like a negative feeling. Until I go back and clean that up, isn't that going to be on me?
No.
Why not?
Because nobody can influence you. Nobody can control what you think. You can't control what anybody else thinks. So curses, like we know them, witch doctors and voodoo and, that kind of stuff, only have power when the person to whom the curse has been
receives it,
put on, receives it and believes it.
But maybe you do believe it, because maybe you, in your mind, like I know for a long time, I didn't feel worthy or have self-worth. And I believed that I wasn't like a strong, like supported, worthy person. So I probably would accept negative energy on me in my younger days.
But now you've learned from it.
But now I've learned from it. But like so many people are just accepting this negative energy put on them. So would that allow them to have some sort of like curse-like thing put on them?
If they believe it.
If they believe it.
But curses have no power.
But only if you believe it.
Yeah, if you believe it. The body's going to follow what the brain believes. One of my dear friends is Dr. Christiane Northrup, who's a women's health expert, like 4 or 5 times New York Times bestseller. And she went to Dartmouth Medical School in the mid-1970s, which there weren't very many people who were women in medical school. And the first day of medical school, they talked to them about curses. And she's thinking, really? I broke my rear end to get into this Ivy League school, and you guys are talking about curses? And that's what they wanted them to know, that the power of belief is so strong that it will affect the body. It will affect the health. The whole placebo effect when a new drug is being tested. And I'm an inventor and former manufacturer of surgical devices. So I had to do clinical studies at big university medical centers in order to have the proof that my products were not only efficient, but that they wouldn't hurt anybody before the FDA and other governing bodies similar to the FDA in other countries would allow me to sell it. So I'm very familiar with that. But what they want you to know is the placebo effect is alive and well. If a drug company does a study, and they all have to in order to sell whatever it is they're manufacturing, it's always going to perform better under the placebo than it is under the drug. I think the statistics are 52%. People are going to have better outcomes believing they're taking the drug when they're just taking a sugar pill. So for Dr. Northrup, in her first day of medical school, that's what her professors wanted them to know, that the power of belief is so strong that it can affect our bodies and our lives.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So to follow up to some questions I've had from listeners.
Yeah.
How do I know when they do a session with you that it works? You know, like how can someone know for sure? So like I would love to follow up with you and be like, okay, we scanned my body. We saw some Lyme. We saw some mold. We saw some stuff in the house. can you scan again and see if it's working?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the first proof for you was you had somebody come out and check your basement.
And we had mold in the crawl
and
space.
you talked to Michael and he said, yeah, our HVAC's in the basement. And I'm like, I can see it. I promise you, it's in the basement. And you were laughing. You're like, I don't know. I got to talk to Michael.
Well, it's hard. I mean, this is a hard thing to grasp because it's a lot of trust in you too, you know? And it's like, I feel like when I talk to you, I'm like, I feel resonance with you. I feel truth with you. But like, it's hard for people to be like, okay, how do I know this is going to work when there's so much coming at us in the world?
Yeah. Well, how do you know anything's going to work? How do you know when you go to the doctor that
I have to be drawn to it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the bottom line is, does it resonate with you? How do you feel when you hear that person? People that come to me or one of my graduates, I've got a bunch of graduates that work with me and do appointments and do the whole buffet of psychicness with clients. People come to me usually when they've been to multiple doctors and had multiple diagnoses, multiple treatment plans, and they still have the same symptoms. You're a great example.
Like I've had a lot of miscarriages. Like, and I had 7 miscarriages. Like, what is going on in my body? Like, I can't figure it out. All my blood work's coming back fine.
Yeah.
Sunny is a little fire beam. She pushed on through, but for whatever reason, like nothing else can hold.
Well, and we need to scan you again. The big thing that I got when I scanned you the first time was mold. You were living in a moldy environment. And what was happening was your basement was full of mold, which is a crawl space. And you said, no, it's covered in plastic. I said, trust me, there is so much mold down there. And your HVAC's there. So your HVAC was spewing all those mold spores throughout your house, and you were inhaling them. And the thing about mold, which is so interesting, is that 30% of the population is super allergic to mold. I am one. You are one. Sunny is not as bad as you, but she's got a lot of it. Michael.
He didn't really get affected.
He's Teflon. My husband's the same way.
I feel like Michael is Teflon.
Yeah, so is my husband. I can walk in a moldy room. I can tell you in a nanosecond if there's a mold problem there. My husband will say, oh, I don't smell anything. I don't see anything. I don't feel anything. I'll say, great, hey, I'm going to meet you in the car. I'm not staying in here because it can make us so sick because our bodies can't detox all of those toxins that come from mold. And really, we're like canaries in the coal mine.
Yeah.
You know, nobody needs to be in a moldy environment. And we can detect it. So that, I believe, was the biggest thing going on with you. Wherever there's mold, there's always leaky gut.
Yeah.
There's always problems with toxins in the blood that don't need to be there coming from the sewer, which is the gut of the body. And so part of the proof was within a couple of days, you had somebody out there evaluating your crawl space. They said, yeah, you got a mold problem. They remediated it. I told you what kind of filter and what kind of other things to put on your HVAC. That was the biggest thing. I mean, we can do all kinds of stuff for you as far as your food and your exercise and all, even medication. But if you're living in a toxic soup,
right,
it's kind of like, why bother?
Right.
So, yeah, that was the first proof. The second proof is you're feeling better.
Yeah.
The third proof is you got pregnant.
But I always get pregnant.
Yeah, well, you got pregnant.
But I always get pregnant. I just don't stay pregnant.
Well, we can figure that out.
I don't know why I don't stay pregnant.
Yeah.
So that's what I was wondering, like, if my body's clearing, if there's
your body's clearing.
Like, what's going on in it still?
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
so when you do it, you hop up to your high energy field.
Yeah, in a nanosecond.
And you zap on over into me.
Correct.
And then what are you doing? You're scanning the whole body?
Yeah, it's like you're a hologram of you in my mind's eye.
Are you seeing it now?
Uh-huh.
What's in there now?
Yeah, it looks better.
But it's still moldy?
You still got some. You're still clearing it.
So it'll take a long time?
Everybody's different. Depends. If you're doing the other stuff that was recommended. And you probably don't even remember what that was.
No.
Yeah. Case in point. We can go over that again. Yeah. And so everybody's different. Everybody's spirit is going to heal in a way that it's going to help it experience and explore what it came in to explore. So the healing already was done the first time we talked on the energetic level, and then it's going to integrate into your body. That can be instantly. It can take days, weeks, months, may need complementary care like change in diet, physical therapy, getting your basement fixed and remediated. I mean, all those different variables are going to affect the outcome because the bottom line, Caroline, and you know this, we've talked about this, nobody ever heals anybody else. Ever. We all heal ourselves. no doctor, no medical provider, no healer like me, no shaman, no whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to heal ourselves. You go to the emergency room with a big cut on your leg, the doctor's going to stitch it up, but that doctor doesn't make your skin grow back. You make
Right.
your own skin grow back.
Right.
And when a doctor has two patients, let's say they're both having appendectomies, and they're both healthy, and the surgeries both go great, one heals in no time, the other one takes a long time to heal. Why is that? Procedures were the same, problem was the same, both of them were healthy. Why the difference? Because it's all predicated on what our spirit wants to explore and experience. So nobody can control anybody else because nobody can control anybody else's thoughts.
But you can assist people because, like, you
Yeah,
can
we
go
assist.
in there and zap stuff.
We facilitate the person healing themselves. So the work that I do is part of the healing equation.
Or the
Western medicine, Eastern medicine, chiropractic, health, food, exercise, all that other stuff, energy healing, all part of the healing equation for that person to heal themselves. Your doctor's helping you heal yourself. I'm helping you heal yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. It's fascinating. It's fascinating because you can't see it,
Yeah, but you can't see when somebody says, here, take this medicine.
Right.
You can't see it when you have a cut and you see a cell add on to another cell, to millions of cells to create a scab, and then you're watching the cells underneath it create new pink skin. Mm-hmm. We can't see any of it. We just know it works.
Right.
And so back to your question of a few minutes ago, which is how do we know this stuff works? Because of the outcome.
So, like, with all the miscarriages, like, how would I fix, like, how do we know what's causing that?
Yeah, we'll scan you again. We'll do that before I leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Is this my journey? Am I supposed to, like...
Obviously, because you're experiencing it.
Is that what I came here to experience?
Obviously. Yeah, obviously.
Wild.
And look at the broader picture here. You're experiencing being able to create. You're experiencing that creation ending prematurely in your mind. You don't know whether that baby's spirit wanted to come to you because it wanted to explore and experience what it was like to be conceived and then be miscarried.
Am I like a vessel for people to experience miscarriage?
Perhaps.
I'm like,
looks like
here,
it.
go to Caroline. You can experience miscarriage.
But you've got Sunny.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So you're exploring and experiencing what is it like to have a child and what is it like to lose these miscarried babies. And is that because they chose you and you were you agreed to be a participant and them experiencing what it was like to be a miscarried baby? Because maybe they were a woman who had multiple miscarriages or a miscarriage. Maybe they were the grandparent of, the sibling of, the
and they want to know what it feels like to be miscarried.
They want to know what it feels like to be miscarried. It's all just an experience.
And I must have had something in my past that I was willing to have this experience.
Well, maybe you were miscarried in a past life. The thing that's really cool about the miscarried babies, though, is their little spirits are there when somebody's dying. And I have a fun story about that.
So, like, when I pass away, all of them will be there?
All of them are around you now.
That makes me want to cry.
All of them are around you now. We can talk to every one of them if you want.
So they're not the same spirit?
No.
I thought maybe it was the same one coming back a lot of times.
No, they're all
separate.
separate.
I have 7 separate ones.
And those are the ones you know of.
Ugh.
I think all women miscarry, but we just don't know it because we miscarry during a period very early on.
Yeah, I've had 2 chemical pregnancies.
Yeah.
It's like basically just a week late.
Yeah.
But because I'm so on it, I took pregnancy tests, and I'm like,
right.
I'm pregnant, but it didn't stick.
Right. But my friend Nina, who is 94, she'll be 95 next month.
Nina's rocking.
Nina is a riot. She still drives. She's just hilarious.
Get it, Nina?
So much fun. 6 kids.
Okay.
I don't know how many grandchildren and great-grandchildren. A bunch. Her great-grandchildren are driving, some of them now, which mortifies her. But nevertheless, when her husband died, I'm at the funeral. And of course, I'm scanning the church, what spirits are there? Who do I recognize? All of that. And she had 3 baby spirits that were with her husband over the casket. I could see her husband's spirit there. I could see these 3 baby spirits. And I said, Nina, did you have any miscarriages? Well, let me back up. 'Up. 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 prodding me for, okay, show me, tell me what happened. Who was there? Who were the spirits? And it was her parents and her siblings and others. And I said, there were 3 baby spirits that were above the casket with your husband. And she said, no, those weren't mine. I said, oh, yes, they were. I said, you just miscarried them. She said, I've never had a miscarriage. I said, that you know about. And so her daughter came up later while we were still talking, and she said, did your dad have another family? Because Julie saw 3 baby spirits over the casket with him. And we laughed so hard. I said, oh, for God's sakes, no, these were your babies. You just didn't know. That happened with my mother. There was a baby spirit that my grandmother was holding. And I asked my dad, I said, did Mother have a miscarriage that we didn't know about? And he said, yeah, she did before my older brother was born.
Wow.
So, yeah, they're all around you. We can talk to them. Yeah, yeah.
And you can also see pets' energy, too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So I just got a new dog.
Oh, great.
So I realized.
Because you needed another animal.
Well, because I realized I have a miscarriage and I get a pet. So that's why I have so many pets, because your heart expands and then there's nothing there.
What kind of dog?
It's a Shiba Inu
a lot of hair.
Beagle.
A lot of hair.
And it's a boy.
Beagle.
And he's so cute.
So how does that even happen?
I don't know.
I know.
But he's
you
so
you see like these Chihuahua Great Dane mix. I'm just thinking, okay, how does that? I don't know that I want to know how that happens.
Do you think though that animals come into our life for a reason?
Absolutely.
Like they flow in at a certain time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel that way.
Didn't want another hedgehog?
I love having a hedgehog. I mean, a hedgehog is a blast.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a whole animal farm. I'm like maxed out. I literally just brought this dog home and Michael's like, no, you did not.
And the crabs froze.
I know, but we got new ones.
Of course.
Poor R.I.P. crabs. That was their incarnation in this life. I'm like, I'm sorry. Yours was freezing to death.
Right.
Ugh.
But yes, and the pet spirits are there when we're dying. You had asked me a few minutes ago, and then we got off on another tangent. What happens when somebody's dying is the spirit exits through the top of the head, and it hangs on while the person's dying. It looks like a cartoon caption bubble or a speech bubble where the character's thoughts or words are enclosed. And then the first spirit to come in, and this really surprised me. Again, the first time I saw any of this was with my mother. The first spirit to come in is the maternal spirit closest to the person who's dying.
She runs the show.
Runs the show.
The woman runs the show.
Runs the show. From the, we're from the grave. We're helping our kids. If, like in your case, your mother's still alive, well, in my case, my mother's dead. It would be my mother. If the mother's still alive, it'll be the maternal grandmother. If she's still alive, it will be her mother. It's always on the maternal line.
Okay.
Which is interesting to me because, we take care of our children when we're alive and we're advising them from heaven. And also in certain cultures, like in the Jewish culture, a child is not considered a Jew unless it's born from a Jewish mother. So that's why you'll see if Gentile women are marrying a Jewish man and they want to raise the kids Jewish, she'll normally convert.
So she can be Jewish.
So she can be Jewish, so the kids can be Jewish. So there's something there that's been, the maternal line. That really surprised me with my mother. I thought, God certainly has like a death and dying department in heaven. And he's going, okay, Mary Jo, my mom, Mary Jo's dying. Send some angels to help. No, my Mima, my grandmother was there.
And she runs a tight ship. Don't you say they run a tight ship?
Tight ship. They are like...
So like they're efficient.
Focused.
Coming in, like bringing the friends and family in. You're lining everyone up.
Yeah, bringing in the angels.
Bringing in the angels. In some cases, wrapping them in cloth, right?
Yeah. The angels then, so it's the maternal spirit first, then the closest paternal spirit that's in heaven. They come in. Let's say for this conversation's sake, we've got a person who's dying who's laying in a bed, face up. So the parent spirits are at their feet. And then they bring in the angels. And then with the parent spirits as the anchor at the feet, these angels form this huge circle around the person who's dying. And angels look to me like I was taught they look. Big wings, white gowns, rope belt, barefoot. Is that what angels look like? That's how they appear to me because that's how I was taught they look. To somebody growing up in an indigenous culture in the middle of the Amazon, maybe it's a blob of purple fog. Mm-hmm. Who knows? We're always gonna interpret spirit and how they look, so we can understand it from our frame of reference.
Right.
So then as the person's getting closer to death, that circle opens up into a horseshoe and then eventually a straight line across the foot of the bed. And keep in mind, this all transpires whether somebody dies instantly or whether
a
long time, because spirit, there's no time in the spirit world.
And it doesn't matter if you're like the worst human on earth.
It doesn't matter, because
your
soul, spirit, you're playing a role.
Yeah, you're playing a role.
Yeah, I'll have people over the years say, well, my mom was the bitch from hell. She is the last person I want running the show when I'm dying. I said, that was a role she was playing. Her spirit is pure love. And when you get to heaven, you can take her an Oscar and go, Mom, you deserve an Oscar because you played that role perfectly. You were awful. And the other thing that I've heard so many times, I've lost count over the years, Caroline, is people have better relationships sometimes with their parents or others, loved ones, maybe ex-husbands, ex-wives, when they're in spirit. Because all that snarkiness stays with the body. It's a role they're playing.
Right.
Yeah.
So are you trying to tell us to enjoy life? Because
absolutely,
even if things are going wrong and well, it's hard when you are under the oppression of someone.
Yeah.
When you're being oppressed and you don't have freedom, that's hard. But I guess you have to get into your mindset and free yourself mentally, which takes a lot of mental
George
fortitude.
Lucas, the Star Wars guy, I love this quote. He said, we're all in cages with the door open. We put ourselves in that position. You're a great example. Look at how you beat yourself up early in your life, and you're the whole package, for God's sakes. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're talented, you're fun, you have all these. Yeah, but we've talked about that. Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting better at not being worried.
You are getting better, because I'm teaching you how to use the techniques that you'll learn in my class to even reinforce. But back to what happens when somebody's dying is the angels are there, and then deceased loved ones' spirits come in the room. And these are not only from the lifetime that the person has just lived, but also from all their past lives. So I'll see people dressed in Renaissance clothing and like 1960s go-go boots and mini skirts and on and on and on. And when my mother was dying, I saw these spirits of these people who I hadn't thought of in 30 years, who'd been dead for a really long time. And then all the animal spirits the person ever had in that lifetime, they come in as well. And I'll sometimes see farm animals. And I'll say, did your grandma grow up on a farm, or does she live on a farm now? They'll say, yeah, how do you know? And I'll say, well, there's lammies and ducks and geese and chickens and cows and horses. Not too long ago, I saw a man who was dying, and he had safari animals in the room with him, like giraffes and elephants and lions and zebras and those kind of animals. And I said to his wife, did he live in Africa? What's the deal with the safari animals? And she laughed and she said, yeah, he was in the Peace Corps for 10 years and he worked on animal refuges. Refuges, I guess is the word. So again, you can't make this stuff up. And it's so comforting, Caroline, to the family when that woman, when I said to her, there's all these safari animals around him, I had just started talking to her 20 minutes earlier. I'd never met her. I didn't know anything about her husband who was dying. When we describe what the people look like, their spirits in the room, what the animals look like, they say, oh, yeah, that was Fluffy. That was our dog. That was our horse Trigger or whatever. And it gives them comfort because they know that they're not alone. Nobody ever dies alone. Two other interesting nuances about the 12 phases of transition. One is around phase 9. Around phase 5, let me back up, there are 2 additional angels that show up, and they position themselves on either side of the spirit bubble. And when that happened with my mom, I thought, okay, it's going to be interesting. Don't know what's going to happen, but... And this was all going on in a day. We arrived in Columbus probably 9 in the morning, and so this was happening probably mid-afternoon. And the nurses at the hospice facility kept saying, oh, she's well hydrated. She's come from the hospital. She's going to live at least a couple weeks. And I'm thinking, yeah, not so sure about that. So when we prayed in the room, there was this iridescent mist that sparkled, and it just flowed through the room.
Did you say prayer actually does bring in more angels, right?
It's grace. It was grace is what I call it. It just swirled. And then we stopped praying. It stopped.
So prayer really does circulate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The energy of prayer. It's a really high vibe. It's the first time I'd seen it. It's like all this, it wasn't wet. It was like a dry mist that was iridescent. It was gorgeous. So I see that these two angels position themselves on either side of my mother's spirit bubble, and I thought, this is going to be interesting. And later on in the evening, when we came back from dinner, their wings had started to move. Now, these just two angels on either side of the spirit bubble. And it reminded me of a giant owl, silent, slow, rhythmic. And I thought, all right, this is going to help her spirit evacuate from her body, but I have no clue how. And sure enough, over time, that movement of those angels' wings created a vortex above my mother's head. Think of a tornado cloud. And it had an upward pull to it. It reminded me of driving through the car wash at the end when they turn the dryer on and it's sucking all the water off your car. And I thought, that's how her spirit's gonna evacuate. And sure enough, it did. And then once her spirit was detached from her body as it had come through the vortex, went up and to the right, the angels escorted it to heaven.
And then her body died.
Her body died as soon as the spirit and the body separate, because the spirit is the power source for the body.
Yeah.
And I was taught that the spirit or the soul is someplace in the chest area. That's not what I perceive. What I perceive is the spirit's the main part of us. The body's inside the spirit. And so when you hear about somebody's aura or their energy field,
that's their spirit.
That's their spirit that they're seeing. If you look at an old master's painting of a religious figure, they'll have a halo around them. Everybody has a halo. It's their energy field. You think about EKGs and EEGs. What are they doing? They're measuring the energy of the brain or the heart outside of the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're measuring the energy field. But none of us, we have all known it our whole lives, but we've never thought about it. And there are more and more and more techniques that are happening in medicine now where we're able to affect what's going on inside the body by affecting the outside of the body, the energy field. So, a couple of interesting nuances. That spirit going through the vortex, heaven to me looks like this huge whitish, yellowish plasma wall. You go through it, there's no trace. You can come back out, no trace. It's just, I've never seen St. Peter at the pearly gates with a clipboard going, yeah, you're allowed in. No, you got to go burn for eternity. Doesn't happen.
Okay, that's good.
Everybody gets in. And when I was writing Angelic Attendants, I thought, all right, I'm just going to look up owl wings vortex. I was just led to do that. Come to find out, there's this thing called the wingtip vortex, which is an aeronautical engineering phenomenon where how the air goes over and under the wings causes a vortex underneath the wings and causes lift. Every plane, every jet, every bird, every bug, every kite, anything that flies has the wingtip vortex underneath it. And there are tens of thousands of articles, pictures. Every pilot knows about the wingtip vortex. I'd never heard of it. And I thought, good heavens, that movement of those angels' wings that I could see, I could hear, I could feel, caused a vortex to form, helped my mother's spirit go through it. You hear about near-death experiencers. They say they go through a vortex, a lot of them. That's what they're doing. And it helped my mother's spirit separate from her body. So we have a real-world thing being affected by a spiritual situation by angels that we can see, we can feel, we can hear, all of that. The second thing that I thought was really interesting was when I see somebody come out of the vortex, they always go up and to the right. I thought, what's up with that? Even in the old masters' paintings, if they depict somebody who's dying, they're always up and to the right. And so I was giving a talk at a conference one time, and this physicist came up afterwards, and he said, I know why the spirit goes to the right. I said, please enlighten me. And he said, think about screwing a lid on a jar. When you want to put the lid on, you're screwing it clockwise, right? You're screwing it to the right. When you want to take the lid off, you're screwing it counterclockwise. When you lift it up, what are you doing? You're coming back around to the right.
So it can unscrew and release.
Lift it off.
Wow.
He said that makes total sense to me. And I thought, there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Julie, your wealth of knowledge. Okay, tell us again about your course because I want to know about this and people want to listen. When is it?
May 16th and 17th.
It's 2 days
2
online.
days online. It'll be recorded, so if you can't be there for the whole time, you'll see.
Okay,
the
so if you
stuff
have
that
to
you
like
missed.
go to something for like an hour,
Yeah, or if you've got like a something going on, like your kids
you
in
still
a
get the
sport,
transfer of energy.
absolutely.
Okay.
Because you can watch the recording. The key, the secret sauce is the practice groups. That's when you're laying the neural pathways. I had Dr. Daniel Amen on my Ask Julie Ryan show.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, I do too. And I wanted him to scan my brain and see, it's like my brain different or what's the deal with my brain? And he did. And we talk about it on this show. But basically, I've developed neural pathways that allow me to do this. I didn't have dead people chasing me as a kid. I learned how to do all this stuff. I started in my mid 30s because somebody gave me a book by somebody who called herself a medical intuitive. And I thought, well, what the heck is that? Mm-hmm. Back then, we didn't have the internet yet. So I went to a Barnes & Noble bookstore and I found a book called Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan, who's a former NASA physicist, the late Barbara Brennan, PhD. Mm-hmm. And she parlayed very complex quantum physics principles into understandable English. 50 years ago, she wrote that book. And I thought, that's interesting. And I called her school and I said, you guys got anybody teaching this stuff in my area? And sure enough, they did. And so that's how I started all this. I learned how to do all this stuff. And the only prerequisite to take my class is you got to speak English.
Okay.
That's it. The other thing is anybody that wants a free copy of the book, I love your marker. I love your bookmarks. Look at her bookmarks.
Homemade.
Oh my gosh. Did Sunny make these?
Oh, yeah.
I bet.
Yeah.
If you want Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
If you want a free copy of Angelic Attendance, and again, it's got all these diagrams in it, just go to my website, AskJulieRyan.com. There's a button there you can push, and we'll send you a free digital and audiobook version. And we have it in Spanish, too. So I give tens of thousands of these.
You're just getting the word out.
Pope Clement, you got to teach the world. I'm actually working with the people at the Pentagon to get this out to the military, too. And the nonprofit groups like the Gold Star families and the veterans
so they can have some peace.
Well, you think about the active or the veterans, they've in some instances seen their comrades, die. The families who have a loved one who's died and they think, oh, my son died alone. Nobody ever dies alone. We're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets. And you think about the other branches of the military and how this can help. And I tell people, just go on Amazon. There's more than 600 reviews, and every one of them is, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known this before my mom died. We're all going to lose loved ones. We're all going to be there ourselves one day.
You might as well have some peace knowing.
The other thing is many churches, including my Catholic church, of churches of all denominations and synagogues and hospice facilities, give my book out for free to every family that comes in who has a loved one at the end of their lives or has somebody that they've lost. And I'll get emails a lot, Caroline, and people say, well, yeah, I gave your book as a funeral gift. I said, perfect.
That's great, actually.
I hope it gives them comfort. And so if you just read a few of the reviews on Amazon, you'll get a feel for.
I love the book. It was great. It makes you feel very peaceful and it feels very correct.
Yeah.
Like when you write it, I'm like, oh, that feels right.
Yeah. Well, and so many hospice practitioners and critical care practitioners have experienced this.
Yeah, so they can back it up too.
And 90% of the population, research shows, can see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets. So this is the spiritual side of what the scientific proof is for it. So.
Well, Julie, I'm so glad you came back on. This was amazing to have you back in person and to go and I could talk to you forever. I want to talk to you forever. I always wrap up with leave your light. What do you want people to know? Just drop some inspiration.
Nobody dies alone. We all can communicate with spirit. We all come in with the ability. It's just a matter of developing and enhancing it. And that's why I have these classes. All my classes have practice groups. That's the key. Don't do a class without a practice group.
Okay.
It's a waste of time. It's like reading a book or going to a seminar. You got to do the practice. It's like everybody can throw a football, but you're not going to be Tom Brady unless you throw it a lot of times. And this is the same thing. It's just laying those neural pathways in the brain. Everybody can do it. We're all doing it. We just don't realize it.
Okay, and where do we sign up for your next class?
AskJulieRyan.com, and you'll see the button there, and it's right there. AskJulieRyan.com, everything's there. And my show, AskJulieRyan.com, you've been on it.
Mm-hmm.
We have lots of interviews. We're pushing 800 episodes.
That's awesome.
And we do a call-in show every Thursday night that's YouTube live stream too, where people call in from all over the world and partake in the buffet of psychicness. I can scan you. We can scan your dog. We can talk to your dead grandma. We can do a past life thing.
How fun is that?
It's a blast. It's really fun.
Thank you so much for joining me, Julie. This was awesome.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.